This year's Black History Month, GLAAD is highlighting Black LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs in the second season of its docuseries called Changemakers. This year, GLAAD highlights trans or non-binary leaders in gaming, sports, housing, and the medical industry. Episode 1 features Moriah Moore and her New Orleans-based nonprofit, House of Tulip. And she joins us now, right after all of the Mardi Gras celebrations. Thank you for joining us, Moriah Moore.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. I'm excited to talk to you about your important work. First, TULIP stands for Trans United Leading Intersectional Progress. Would you tell us a little bit about the mission of the House of TULIP?
Yeah, so House of Tulip creates equitable housing solutions for trans and gender nonconforming folks by providing zero barrier housing. House of Tulip inception came about during the pandemic when we were seeing a rise in illegal evictions and folks who were in survival mode that didn't have any types of support or resources, who were, as we know, most vulnerable during that time. And the pandemic really kind of exacerbated and really magnified intensely the disparities that have always existed in our community.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And, you know, of course, all kinds of people can experience housing insecurity, but, queer and trans youth, especially, are susceptible and at risk. And would you talk about the critical nature of ensuring housing for this vulnerable group?
Absolutely. So we know that when folks have safe, stable housing, that they can get into care and stay in care, meaning healthcare, therapy, any type of affirming care that really saves lives. We also know that when folks have safe, stable housing, their employment opportunities increase, meaning they can seek and stay employed. And we also know that by having safe, stable housing, it decreases the amount of suicide rates and attempts that we see, specifically amongst our trans and gender nonconforming youth.
Great. Thank you for that. And I want to go back to your past a little bit. You grew up in foster care, if I'm correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes, great. I wonder if you would tie a little bit of a through line from your experience as a child in foster care to some of the work that you do now, creating environments for queer and trans youth.
Yeah, I think that, not ever having somewhere safe and stable and constant, um, it really is reflective of the journeys and the experiences of so many folks in our community who are experiencing these same states of constant transition. And I think it was so important, and it is so important that we provide something that is safe and stable and constant, because when folks are in constant states of transition, most times they are in also at the same time constant states of survival mode. And so we want to kind of move folks out of that state of survival and move them into a space where they're thriving.
Yes, incredible. Would you talk a little bit more specifically about some of the challenges that young Black, trans, or gender nonconforming folks face in cities like New Orleans or across the country?
Yeah, I think that, and I speak for my experience specifically, a lack of opportunity, a lack of employment opportunities, barriers to healthcare, and, the foundation and the centerpiece around all of that, oftentimes for me, was a lack of safe, stable housing.
Mhm.
Also, not having a supportive support system, like lots of other folks have supportive families, and you come from these supportive families, and you're taught things. All types of different literacy and education opportunities that just isn't readily available to specifically Black, transgender, nonconforming community members, Black people,
Mhm.
right, specifically. And we see the reflection of that every single day in our communities. And so, for me, being in this position to be doing this work, to be providing these resources, I see the impact and the increase of the quality of life for our community every single day. And we know that increasing that quality of life starts with housing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And There's a moment in the docuseries. Would you talk about this moment when you get off the bus from, you've been in foster care and you find your community? What was that like for you?
I think, for the first time, it's like taking like a breath of fresh air, like, and it's the cleanest, crispest, most refreshing thing that you've ever experienced. And for me, it's like the moment in which I saw myself, right? I saw a representation of who I was, and I saw my existence in human form, right? Because for so many years I was told that I did not exist and that, I could not be authentically who I was and show up as my full self, and, that there was nothing out here in this world for me. But I was greeted by a community of people who told me that yes, you are valid. Yes, your dreams matter. You will live. You will thrive. It may be hard, but we're going to do it together. And I think that for me, even though life has been very hard and I've been met with violence and discrimination. There was so much more to live for because I had a community that supported me. And so for me to find that community, um, through it all, through everything I've experienced, I would say it's worth it because now I have an opportunity to display that gratitude, to pay that back, to pay it forward, right?
Mm.
Because someone did it for me, I can do it for someone else.
Right, and you are paying it forward with this, life of advocacy work, helping others who've come up behind you. So thank you for that. How can people help or donate to House of Tulip?
Yes, so House of Tulip, we just opened our stabilization center. We know that there are folks who are unhoused that do not want to be housed, and we know that that is okay. And everyone has a choice, but folks also do deserve to be served. So we have an Amazon wish list on our social media platforms as well as our website. You can visit our website houseoftulip.org to become a monthly sustaining donor. It's so important that we grow our sustaining donor base so that we can keep not only our stabilization center going, but our different housing sites going for our most vulnerable folks in our community.
Great, great. Thank you for that. And then also, I wonder, what advice would you give to someone who wanted to open a House of Tulip in Atlanta or New York or Miami or Los Angeles?
I would say first you have to lean into your own experiences,
Mhm.
but more importantly, listen to community and what it is that they need.
Mm.
And then you build upon that, and you always allow a community to be a part of whatever it is that you're doing. So whether it's housing, you look and you receive feedback from your community to understand what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes we have to be creative about the ways in which we develop the infrastructure to these programs. And so I would really just implore people to listen to community and, especially our youth, because our youth have the answers. We have to think about when we were younger and how we weren't, especially me anyway, given the space to have self determination. And I think that for our current generation and future generations, self determination is there. Our youth are loud, proud, and intentional about
Mhm.
what it is they're doing and who they're doing it for.
Moriah Moore, you are a change maker. You can find the full season 2 of the Changemaker series on GLAAD's YouTube page. Mariah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Nice speaking with you.
February is Black History Month, and today we want to honor the Honorable Deborah Batts. She was the first out LGBTQ plus judge confirmed to the federal bench. She was nominated by President Bill Clinton in 1994, serving for the Southern District Court of New York. In 2007, Batts was a prominent figure in the litigation over the Central Park Five case, rejecting the dismissal of their lawsuit. Outside of work, Batts supported the RISE program, which helps lower recidivism amongst at risk offenders. That's all the time we have for this Advocate today. The Advocate channel is streaming online at advocatechannel.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel or download our Roku app. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and I'll see you next time.